Hey guys, my name is Jake Kaufman and welcome back to Way Outside. We had another great day of NBA playoff action just wrap up, and I'm so excited to get to talk about it. We had a couple of great games today, including one that might go down potentially as an all-time classic, depending on how the series goes on. We had a bunch of very entertaining games. We have one that makes me very, very upset that we're going to get into. But without further ado, let's talk about today's games. So obviously the first game of the day was the 1-8 matchup in the Eastern Conference, the 8th seed Atlanta Hawks. They coming off their back-to-back wins in the play-in to make it to the playoffs without Clint Capella. Obviously, he had injured with Evan Mobley in the second playing game, taking on the number one seed in the Eastern Conference, Miami Heat, who are finally healthy, which is a scary sign. And I said it was going to be. And it really did look like a one seed taking on an eight seed because the Heat dominated throughout. They won by a score of 115 to 91. While the Hawks did finish with 91, their offense struggled way more than that would indicate. They only had 68 points with 2 minutes left in the third. They shot 39% from the field for the game, 28% from three. And this wasn't really them missing open looks. The Heat did an incredible job defensively, especially on Trae Young. Main culprit to this was my guy, Jimmy Butler, who I feel like his defense is so underappreciated now to me. Like he's still unquestionably a top five defender at his position, even at the age of 32. People don't really talk about it. Trae Young only scored 8 points in 28 minutes, and he shot 1 for 12 from the field, 0 for 7 from three. It's very obvious that if Trae Young doesn't score at least 20, this team has no shot of winning a game in the series because they cannot play defense at a level to limit the Heat in that. And they couldn't do it well this night. The Heat shot 52% from the field. They went 18 of 38 from three, 35 assists, only 15 turnovers. They had an offensive clinic, excuse me. Their only offensive blemish really was going 11 of 18 from the free throw line. But in the end, when you win by 24, it really doesn't matter. I mean, specifically, and that the thing that was more intriguing to me is that just the way they did it, the Heat did it. They spread the ball around a lot. They had four different people in double figures. There was Jimmy with 21, PJ Tucker had 16, Kyle Lowry had 10, and Duncan Robinson had a hell of a game. He went 9 of 10 from the field, 8 of 9 from three, 27 points in only 23 minutes. He was making everything. It was incredible. They weren't even all just open looks. He was making it tough. He had a insane and one. He was just lighting it up, and the Heat did a really good job finding him. And this is key because obviously, if you guys know, Duncan Robinson last in the 2020 bubble run was so key to their success, and it was really, and he's really struggled throughout most of this year to replicate that after signing a big contract, which is really upset a lot of people in Heat Nation, as I totally understand. But he played very well tonight. But yeah, they just played so well defensively and as a team, and they were able to, normally if you think Tyler Hero only has 6 points, they wouldn't have a great game offensively, but like I said, Duncan Robinson really carried. And I think this is a sign of how deep this Heat team is. Phil Depot didn't even play. Okay, Vincent at 8. Everyone besides Haywood Highsmith made a real key contribution. And defensively, they just were amazing. They finished with 12 steals. They had 3 blocks. They altered in way more shots. It was just an incredible game all around. And I know it sounds like I'm stuck in the Heat stick here, but not. It was just that impressive of a game. If you go back and watch the defense, PJ Tucker was putting himself for Trae Young. They really made Trae Young struggle. It wasn't Trae Young just missing open looks. He really didn't get many good looks at all. And then when he did, he was kind of lost his confidence or wasn't able to make them. We're trying to look on the Hawks side for anything positive. It's pretty difficult, but Danilo Gallinari played pretty well. He had 17 points in 29 minutes. 5 of 12 from the field. DeAndre Hunter was okay. He had 14 points. Kevin Huerter also really struggled. He only had 8 points, 3 for 8. John Collins did come off the bench and play, but only had 10 points and, really didn't have an insane impact, and no one really did. I mean, you could tell that it was hard for them to. Trae Young really relies on, especially for his playmaking, having some sort of a lob threat or just some kind of an aerial attack. And with Gallinari and Okongwu being the power forward and center, it's really different to the dynamic than when he has Capella and Collins. And Capella's lost, even though the Heat didn't do a ton in the paint, just like you could tell that a lot of the Heat's generated threes were generated from paint, driving into the paint and then kicking it out. And obviously Capella would change a lot of that. But yeah, that really didn't help. The Hawks weren't able to generate much. And while we have no idea about the status of Capella, assuming that even though we know Duncan Robinson will not get 27 points again in that shooting, I also don't think Tyler Hero is going to have 6 points and that Bam will have 6 as well. So I think that, it's an outlier in multiple ways, but I think it honestly evens out to the Heat just are a much better team than the Hawks. And even though people have been slept on and underappreciated all year, and people are wondering if Jimmy's not the guy and because he doesn't score 30 or all those things, this Heat team is a real title contender. I'm going to say it. They could somehow lose 4 in a row and then lose this thing, but I really don't see that happening. It just they play too well on both ends. Kyle Lowry, especially, has brought like the veteran mentality that I mean, I like Goran Dragic a lot, but Goran Dragic isn't the playmaker Kyle Lowry is. He doesn't have the team first mentality. And the way that this team takes charges, man, Kyle Lowry is a little pit bull. He's taking fun, taking charges. He does everything he can in every little way. He's a pest defensively. He also ripped Trae Young 1 point right at half court. And I remember the announcers were losing their mind about it because I know you don't feel like Trae Young gets stripped like directly that. PJ Tucker, like I said, played very, very well. 16 points. He was 4 for 4 from three, all of them in the corner, his favorite. Jimmy was pretty good, 21, 6 and 4, 3 steals. It's an amazing defense on Trae Young and in general. And even he stripped Gallinari a couple times. And I had a couple emphatic Jimmy lobs where he got up in the air and dunked it higher than I've seen him do in quite some time. And it got me excited, as you know, Jimmy's all time for a killer. But he was also very emotional, animated, and passionate, which I really like to see because I think sometimes when Jimmy plays a little too passive, it's to his detriment. He's a person that usually needs to get fired up to be his best. So I just think everything really worked out and is looking in a good place for the Heat. And I think that it's going to be a really tall challenge for the Hawks to try to make, because I think a lot of people predicted the series to go 6 games. Maybe it's still good. It doesn't. I don't see that happening personally, but yeah, overall, I think that's pretty much all I want to say. Heat dominated. Next game is on Wednesday, I believe. So yeah, and I'm thinking it's going to be all about this. Next, we're going to go into the best game of the day, the Nets and the Celtics. And now we're moving on to the second game of the night, which Dave was just instant classic. The Celtics and the Nets. It was final 115-114. I'm guessing if you watch this, you're enough of a basketball fan that you did see the ending. But if you somehow didn't, I'm going to try to sum it up. Basically, Celtics won on a last-second layup. That was a really interesting broken play. Basically, what happens is the Nets are up by 1. They get forced into a really tough shot missed. Celtics rebound the ball, 12 seconds left. I personally thought Ime Udoka, Celtics head coach, was going to call timeout. He didn't. He let the play on. Basically, they gave it to Brown with like 6 seconds left. He tried to isolate and find something. He really couldn't. He dished out to Smart on the left wing for a 3. He did a pump fake, and then I thought he was going to shoot like it after that, but with 2 seconds left, Kevin Durant stops. Kevin Durant was on Tatum, or supposed to be. He's on it. Tatum basically dives right to the rim. Smart finds a perfect pass to him. He catches it, spins around Kyrie Irving, and does a layup, and literally gets it right as time expires to win the game. It was an incredible last play, crazy last sequence. One of the only times I've ever seen a playoff game decided by a buzzer being layup. I think the other one that people say comes to mind, even though I was pretty young then, the 2013 or 2013 LeBron against the Pacers, where he does that one play up at the end. But yeah, it was a crazy ending, and the game itself was crazy. There were so many back and forth runs early, a lot of times, especially early on in the second half. There was the times where especially after the third quarter, it looked like the Nets were just outmatched. They couldn't play defense well enough. Kevin Durant really struggled this game. 9 for 24, 23 points. He also had 6 turnovers, only 4 rebounds, 3 assists. It was a minus 13. Only one starter for the Nets was plus positive, and I'll get into that in a second. But yeah, he really just did not play well. And a lot of his shots were, Kevin Durant contests. When you contest Kevin Durant shot, none of them actually are contested because it just looks like it's so fucking effortless, like over everyone. But like, he missed a lot of shots that you would think he would make like 80% of the time. Exaggeration, but yeah, he really didn't play well, and he really just didn't come up to the moment. It's rare. You normally don't want to accuse Kevin Durant of choking, but he did not play well, and especially even in the biggest moments, really did not do much. The same cannot be said about Kyrie Irving. People that know me well know I don't like Kyrie's whole stance of the vaccine situation. I just don't like some of his beliefs or some of the shit he does, like off the court. But obviously on the court, I can't deny how insane of a talent and special he is. He had 39 points today, 12 of 20 from the field, 6 of 10 from 3, 9 from that free throw line. 5 rebounds, 6 assists, 4 steals, and a block. He did have 3 turnovers, but time he was a +6 in his minutes, and he had 18 of those 39 in the fourth quarter, where he was just making so many difficult shots. He had a shot over Brown and Tatum. It was a long 2. He hit multiple back threes from that, his spot his 2. He can hit shot from everywhere, but to me, there's 2 best spots, especially from the 3. left wing, right wing. It's where he's hit the most things. He nailed a bunch of those. The finishes inside. He's doing everything that he can. I mean, I believe 6 threes were in that fourth quarter. He was just incredible, man. And the only way the Celtics really were able to win it was because in that last possession they double teamed Kyrie and made him get the ball out of his hands, which made Durant take a tough shot that he had no chance of making. But yeah. So Kyrie played amazing. I mean, those two combining to score 62 points is actually above their season average. But obviously when playoffs come around and a bunch of other things are determined, you might wanted to see it combine a little bit more, just a more even distribution. But yeah, you don't really get a combine of 62 from the big two. You normally should be fine with that, but yeah, I'm gonna get into the bench contributions from a little bit. So the best bench player for them today was Goran Dragic, who I've been a fan of recently because I've been a fan of the Heat because of Jimmy. He's been so amazing in that 2020 playoff series, and even in that 21st round series against Bucks last year, he was pretty solid. But in 26 minutes, he was a plus 17. He had 14 points, 5 rebounds. He only had 1 assist, but he was 6-11 for the field, 1 of 3 from 3. He just really helped dictate the game. Impressive because the Nets played very small most of this game, and he was actually trying to go up against like Smart and stuff, and he didn't do a terrible job defensively. He's not good, but like he did an okay job. He just had a real big contribution. He was in that part of that closing lineup and played well enough to earn it. Don't get me wrong. Sorry, I keep yawning. It's already 12:30 here. But Nicholas Claxton played pretty decently well. He played 31 minutes. He was the big playing at the end. He had 13 points and 8 rebounds. He also did get 3 blocks. It did 6 8 3, but he was only 1 for 5 at the free throw line, and some of those free throws were late in the game and crucial. So those obviously did end up hurting the team. But I thought he played pretty well. Andre Drummond only played 17 minutes. He had 8 points, 4 rebounds. I guess they just kind of didn't like the matchup with it, even though the Celtics played reasonably big with Horford and Tice, even though it's not as much Williams. It was surprising to see how there's times where they were playing 3 small guards, Durant and Bruce Brown at times, and that was a really small lineup. And that was when Tice or Horford was on the court. I mean, I was kind of surprised about just how the way they went about that. But yeah, when I look back into for the game, the Nets actually shot incredibly well. They shot 54% from the field. They shot 46% from 3, and they shot 19-24 free throw line. Those are numbers normally that you think you can win a game if you shoot that well. But obviously, with the Nets, we've seen that can't always be the case. Now we go to the Celtics things. Honestly, the biggest key, I mean, that Tatum can get you 30 on 8, Brown can get you 20. Al Horford played a hell of a game. He had 20 points, 15 rebounds, 2 assists, a steal. He didn't register an official block, but he had a lot of shots where he altered or really think. Like there was a couple times where he was tasked with guarding Kevin Durant and forced him into very difficult shots that he missed, and it was incredible seeing a center do that, let alone a 36 or I think he's 36-year-old center doing that. But yeah, he had a great contribution. He's a +8. Tatum had 31 and 8 assists, excuse me. And he played pretty well overall, including that last layup. 9 of 18 from the field, 3 of them for 3, had 10 of 12 from the free throw line. I mean, before he just had a bunch of good shots. I mean, there's points in the game where he kind of felt invisible, but when he needed to, he really did step up, hitting threes, hitting to the basket, hitting the free throws, and then obviously that last second layup, which was crucial. Tice didn't really have much of an impact to mention. Marcus Smart played very, very well. He had 20 points, 8 of 17 from the field, 7 rebounds, 6 assists, 2 steals. His all-league defense as always. Jaylen Brown had a couple of incredible blocks. I think one of them was against Bruce Brown, one thing, but he had some incredible chase down blocks that even Mike Breen was losing his mind about. But yeah, he finished with 23 points, 9-19 field, 1 of 4-6. He had 5 rebounds, 3 assists, 4 steals too. He was very active defensively and played a pretty prominent role. The Celtics actually didn't get much at all from their bench. They surprisingly only played not surprisingly, but they only played 3 guys. They've not the deepest team, especially without Robert Williams. They only got 17 from their bench, and they shot 47% from the field, 36% from 3, and the same exact free throws. The reason that the Celtics were able to do that and win by 1 is they had 11 more shots. Boston won the rebounding battle 43-29, even without Williams. They had 14 offensive rebounds. Horford had 6 of those. Like I said, again, he was very active on the glass. So that helps them. They had 14 turnovers to how many did the Nets have? 16, but that the main thing was those extra offensive rebounds that really got them a lot of shot opportunities. Because they didn't, I mean, it's not they didn't shoot bad, don't get me wrong, but they obviously the Nets shot better, and you'd think that those numbers most teams would win. But that obviously comes to the point of the Nets defense, which is going to a lot of scrutiny. A lot of people think maybe you're overblowing it because if you have Katie and Kyrie, you cannot score anyone. I'm here to say I'm not saying they can't win this series because they definitely still can. It's 1-0, but their defense concerns me, and especially, and I think we don't. A lot of people like to say Kevin Durant's the best player in the NBA. I like to say he's second, but I think we need to hold Kevin Durant accountable for that last play. He went all if Oli does, he needs to if he was watching the ball, he needs to watch Jason Tatum. If he follows Jason Tatum there, Marcus Smart is having to shoot a contested mid range for the win. And I like if I'm the Nets, I like those odds. But Kevin Durant doesn't know where he is. He leaves Tatum wide open, and then all he has to do is spin around a tiny Kyrie Irving, make it. In addition, the Nets had just a number of other defensive lapses or times where they just do it and their effort just isn't good. I mean, there's been so much said about this, but for me, the thing we have to do is mostly hold Kevin Durant. That is Kevin Durant's fault for not doing that because that play it does not finish out with the Celtics winning. There's a very low chance, excuse me, if they do that because then there's not that lane for Tatum, and that was just a broken play, and you need to know how much time's the clock, and you need to be aware. But yeah, that was a crazy game. I think this is going to be a great series, potentially a 7-gamer. Like Mike Breen earlier in the day said, this could be like one of the greatest first round series of all time. And I think, it's kind of an exaggeration, thing, at least in theory, to say before a game happens. I believe it now. This could be an all-time great series, and it was definitely fun to watch. But yeah, now we're going to move on to the third game of the day, which is one that's going to put me into anger management. So let's get ready for that. Now we go to the third game of the day, my beloved Chicago Bulls versus the defending champions, Milwaukee Bucks. Oh, this was a heartbreaking game. And honestly, it was more heartbreaking because they made it close. Like if the Bulls they got steamrolled early on. If they fully get steamrolled, I'm going to be upset, but the pain is kind of, going to fully go away because I know like, oh, the Bucks are a great team. They played well too well. We didn't have a chance of winning kind of thing, But with how everything turned out here, just the fact that, it was close until the very end, despite how bad the Bulls played, and the Bucks played terrible and gave so many opportunities that we still didn't take advantage of them. It was very frustrating. I don't even want to get into these shooting numbers. Vucevic was 9 for 27 as a center. He did lead us with 24 points and had 17 rebounds, but I really don't fucking care. 9 for 27 as a center. He kept missing layups. He kept missing threes. He kept taking threes. I don't know why he took 10 threes. We just gave the ball to him way too much. A lot of other guys were unwilling to take shots, which I'm going to get into. Trust me, but he really stood by it. DeMar DeRozan, I really didn't want to have to do this because I didn't want to believe that narrative was true. I wanted to believe DeMar could change in the playoffs. He was 6 for 25, 18 points, did have 8 rebounds and 6 assists, but 6 to 25 isn't going to cut it for your best player. There weren't even there were some bad shots, but most of them were his normal mid-range I think he's going to make, but he was bricking them. He airballed a couple, and I was so honestly shocked because you almost never see DeRozan airball anything. And it was just incredible and crazy. Excuse me. I just presume your delay. But yeah. I don't even remember where the fuck I was at. But anyways, DeMar DeRozan did not play well. 6 for 25. 18 points. I'm disappointed because I thought he was going to do better with the thing, and maybe he still will. I mean, he did have to take a lot of tough shots, but the air balls and the bricks from mid-range were just the things that really surprised me. Levine also really struggled his first playoff game, 6 for 19, 2 for 10 from 3. So our 3 best players went 52. We went 21 of 71. Yeah, that's not going to cut it against a defending thing. And even with that, we shot 32% from the game. 18% from 3. We had 19, 17, 19. Even with that, we had a chance to win up into the final 2 minutes. And that is because besides Giannis, no one really played well for the Bucks. Well, Brook Lopez did, but Giannis was great. 27, 16. Normal shit. Chris Middleton struggled. 4 for 13, 1 for 7, 3, 5 rebounds, 6 assists. Also 7 turnovers. That's really what did them. Drew Holiday was okay, 15 and 6 and 6, played great defense as usual, but they didn't get much offensive contributions, obviously, against nearly 90 points. They only shot 40% from the field and 26% from three. So they really didn't shoot that much better than us. And the Bulls didn't even get out rebounded. They only got rebounded by 5. Like there was a lot of things that was weird. Like if our Bulls losing games, I think it's going to be because of them, getting crushed defensively. They didn't get crushed on the boards. They didn't crush defensively. They just couldn't fucking make shots. And when it's a team that is known for offense, it's frustrating seeing a team lose in a way that you didn't think they could. I mean, I would like to partially be positive because the spread was 10 and they played a good game, but like I don't think the Buckets are going to struggle as much, but I also don't see a way for the Bulls to get easier shots. So I do think it could still be a sweep. I mean, like I said, if the Bulls had gotten lost by 30, the way the game was going, it looked like they were, I would have been less upset because it was predictable. This was kind of heart wrenching as a Bulls fan because it gave you this false sense of hope that was ultimately ripped away by Giannis, and it's fucking shit. Also, Patrick Williams played 23 minutes, only took 1 to 3 shots. He looked so lost out there. He's so unwilling to shoot. It was frustrating to see because obviously he had that amazing game in the regular season with 35 points. Caruso played great defensively. He's the reason they got back in the game, but offensively didn't give enough. And Kobe White played very well off the bench. He had 12 points, including he got some big shots, including he gave them the lead. I believe it was 67 to 64. And then he hit a left-handed floater over Giannis, and he had some good moments. I think he's going to need to play more. And obviously, he needs to hit shots because we need someone to do that. But it's going to be rough. I really don't think there's a chance that, we're not. I never thought we were going to win this series, but I don't want it to, maybe if we can get a game. This is our game to win. And the fact that we didn't is rough. And I'm saying we because I'm a Bulls fan. Just want to make that clear. Not a bandwagon from Chicago. If you're just you watching for the first time or listening for the first time, that's why. But without further ado, we're going to get into the last game and Chris Paul's mastery. And lastly, we have the Pelicans taking on the Suns, the best overall team in the league. The Pelicans came off the Western Conference play-in. Obviously, people weren't really giving Pelicans a chance to win even a game because of how dominant the Suns have been and everything. But it really was. I mean, it really early on did look like it was going to be a long blowout. I think a lot of people expected that. It really didn't look like much was going to happen at all. It was don't remember the exact lead on the top of my head, but the Suns were up by 20 something at some point, and it really did look like the game was going to be over because Ingram didn't have a good game. McCollum really started off struggling, and it just didn't look like they were going to get enough contributions to ever get really back in it, as well as also trying to hope to stop the players on the Suns. And yeah, I mean, for the game, the Pelicans really struggled shooting. They were 38%, from the field, 39% from three. But they only made 9. So was it a great number? 18-26 free throw line. They did do this is weird. They out rebounded the Suns by 20 and still, lost by 11, which is crazy. Normally, if you out rebound by someone by 20, you win. They got a 25 offensive rebounds, Pelicans did, which is a number that I haven't seen topped in a while. Jonas Valanciunas had 13 of those, and I'll get into him more detail later. In addition, to have 25 rebounds total, but yeah, they did an amazing job on the glass. They really struggled shooting. McCollum got it going in the second half a little bit. I mean, he only finished with 25 points on 25 shots. And Ingram only had 18 points on 17 shots. Herb Jones didn't play that well. I mean, he's not a big scorer anyway, 5 points. Jackson Hayes only gave him 4 points, 11 minutes. Larry Nance Jr. has had back-to-back games. He really played well in that play-in game. He had a double-double. I don't remember the exact amount of rebounds. I think it was like 10 points and 16 rebounds. There's 12 points, 16 rebounds. He had a great game. He played very well again. 14 points, 6 rebounds, 3 assists, only 20 minutes. I think potentially they should look into starting him over Jackson Hayes at the 4. I just think he's giving better of impact. And besides, I think Jackson Hayes is just size. I think if you want to actually get real production, you're getting it from Larry Nance Jr. That's just a personal thing for me. But yeah. So I mean, like Valanciunas also 7 for 21. I thought Vooch was bad from the field, and I mean it's just the same percentage. But Valanciunas' shots were also so much closer. These were easy bunnies at the rim. He had 13 offensive rebounds, and he still was 7 for 21. He only took 1 3, so it was really unexcusable to see a center struggle that much at finishing. I mean, 25 rebounds is also insane. I believe that's close to how many they had. The Suns had 35 as a team, which is crazy. But I mean, yeah, they just didn't get enough production, but they really do. I do have to give them credit. They really did make a game out of the second half, led by Nance and McCollum, and Valanciunas at that point was making a couple of shots and just still wrecking the boards. But Yeah, I mean, I think what we expected to happen happened. The team that's significantly worse got outplayed. But I mean, the thing we have to talk about here is Chris Paul first before I need one. Chris Paul was amazing this game. 30 points, 12 for 16 from the field, 4 of 6 from three, 10 assists, 7 rebounds, only 2 turnovers, 3 steals, a block. Is plus 20 us minus. But it was the fourth quarter, excuse me. He had 19 points in the fourth quarter, and it looked very similar to I'm guessing the game six he played in Los Angeles last year, where he just took over, started making threes, started looking like a like an offensive engine that he's not normally doing. But I think we all know he's capable of, but he's obviously very selective about it, partially because of his age, partially because he knows his role. But it was an incredible display at the end, man. It really was. Um, I was watching. He was incredible. He was doing hitting the threes, hitting his mid range. He found ways to get to the rim, which you almost never see him do. He was just crafty. He just took over. I believe he scored 17 of their. He had short assisted on 17 or 19 straight points. He scored 17 of them. I believe he had one assist on a great time to Aiton. Aiton also played very, very well. He was 21 points, 9 rebounds, 4 blocks. He was the main reason Valanciunas really struggled. In addition to Valanciunas just playing like shit, but it was really good. And he just played very well, and he got some good assists. He even hit a three, which is surprising. Booker played okay at 25 points, only 8 of 19 from the field, 4 of 8 from three, 8 assists. He did all right. Miles Bridges also did a very good job defensively on Brandon Ingram. That's who was matched up with most of the time, which he did a really good job on that. Jay Crowder didn't really do much. He didn't really need to. Cam Johnson played very well off the bench, which is something we've been saying for a while. He had 13 points in 23 minutes, 5-6 in the field, 1 2 3. He's just becoming such a great offensive player, and he's made so many leaps and bounds defensively. But this Suns team, man, is just so well talented. And even when they get games get close and get close among the league, they have the smartest, might be arguably the smartest player in the entire NBA to close them out, and he did it. Believe that the stat is that they're 42-0 this season when they lead after 3 quarters, which is incredible. Which maybe it doesn't seem like a lot. Like normally, if you win after leading after 3 quarters, you're supposed to. But the thing is, that's why you take account is leads get blown all off the time in the NBA. We've seen that with the Utah Jazz. Some other teams, the Wizards have blown a lot. The Bulls blew a few in the fourth quarter. But that doesn't mean this isn't saying only when you're up by 10. There's times they enter the fourth quarter and they're up 1, and they've still found a way to win every single one of those games, which is just a huge testament. I mean, yeah, I do have to give Pelicans credit, like I said before, for making it more of a game than I thought it even was going to be, because they really struggled early on. It looked like it was like 20, 30-point blowout like the Heat Hawks game, but they really did make it competitive. Willie Green is doing an amazing job. And if Zion comes back next year, I do think this team, I'm not going to be a title, but I think this team could be a real solid playoff team in the coming years, but they're going to need Zion to get back. But I do have to give Willie Green a hell of a job, because he's really motivating these players. They've been showing his mic'd timeouts about everything he's been talking about, and I just love it. Seems like a good guy. So yeah, but I think I think it's probably still gonna be over in 4 series, and the Suns are very lethal. I mean, I think we all know that, but just feel like saying it. But anyways, I think that's gonna do it for today's recap, guys. Let me know if you have any comments about anything I say, or comments or questions. Make sure to like and subscribe for watching, and thanks again for listening. I'm Jake Kaufman, and I'll see you guys next time.